All right, let's see. All right, I see red bar. We're good there. Let me see if I can adjust that output. All right, it's good. All right, welcome back. So, still adjusting some sound and microphone things. I may actually, I got the new headset. So, the new headset is not as bulky as the last one. It's interesting. And the microphone comes off and on. It doesn't like hide like the other one does. So, I'm like, the baby keeps walking off with the microphone. So, it's kind of funny. Anyway, we're still using the boom mic at this point. So, hope everybody had a great weekend. Hope everybody was safe. Voice, just FYI, my voice is not normally this deep, as you guys know, but it's the best that I was half debating just doing it at noon today, to give my voice as much time as possible. The cross tournament was interesting. Didn't come out as planned. First, the toughest team of the day, which we knew they were going to be tough and they were going to beat us. We ended up having to play them first, so that just set not a great tone for the kids whatsoever. And then we lost the next two when we shouldn't have lost. The kids were just so flat. It was just unbelievable. But yeah. So anyway, that's why the voice is gone. I'm probably not going to talk today, so I can do the next presentation tomorrow and have a voice back. But anyway, let's dive into what we see. So, not a whole lot of setups this weekend. For those of you with the newsletter, you'll see. I actually didn't do the weekly summary yet. It got messed up. I was doing it, and the baby decided to assist and help me and hit buttons, and ended up erasing the page. So I have to finish rebuilding it today. The old one is up there, but I can't change it. I don't know what she did, but it's locked. So I'm rebuilding it today. I'll have it up there probably by noon today, as far as the summary goes. But as far as weekend gaps this week, not too many setups. There was the Swiss, but everything got front run on that one. Again, that's going to be July trading. We're, middle of July, that's going to happen. And it's interesting. The reason I'm bringing it up is since we started the newsletter, which was really, I think, December of last year is when I started doing it. This is the first week since December that the Sunday night gaps has taken a loss. The first week. Not that we haven't lost trades, but we've always been able to overcome them. This week there was only two setups. One of them got front run, which unfortunately, if that had not gotten a front run, we would have been good. So the newsletter this week, guys, was -8 pips. So for the whole week. Last week we were up much more than that. But yeah, first time since December, down 8 pips. So, oh well. We finally broke our streak. It only took, 30 weeks. So yeah, so pretty funny. So yeah, when I did it today, I was like, man, if that one would have got front run, we would have kept the streak alive. But that's been the story of the weekend. So anyway, last 24 hours, we've had some okay movement. Prices are moving towards zones, so I'm pretty happy about that looking in the overnight. As far as what news looks like today, so some interesting kind of news releases today. First one is going to be at 11:30, which is very late for the pound to be talking. But BOE Gov Bailey is speaking. Anything with the pound is going to be quite reactive at this point. Again, there was no extension. They've made some interesting, comments last week, and we obviously had some pound strength last week across the board, particularly versus the dollar, but again versus the euro and as well as the yen. Right now, we can see it's kind of the opposite. We have the euro coming in with some strength, right? Euro pound is up pretty good, 56. That's not bad for what we've had so far today. 32 in the euro dollar, again, not bad. And then you're seeing the pound is a little bit, I say a little bit of weakness, right? I mean, down 22 against the dollar here. It's up a little bit against the yen, but again, most of the yen strength has not come in yet. I mean, the dollar and the yen haven't really started trading yet, so haven't seen too much there. CAD, a little bit of strength. Again, we saw that late last week as well. So, and then the Swiss is up about 22. That's kind of interesting, and that one is going to pop. There's been a lot of talks going back and forth. I think that one will have a little bit more play coming forward. Actually, I was talking to someone this weekend, and Amazon employee, and they talked about how Amazon is now being required to take things like TikTok off of their phone. And I looked into it. There's actually some other countries that are banning TikTok as well. I guess because of the ownership is by the actual Chinese government, and they're worried about obviously spying and everything else. But yeah, Amazon was, they're being required to take it off their phones, and they're not allowed to have it. Just an interesting streak, And then again, when I looked into it, other countries have also banned it. So kind of interesting. It's I don't know. I feel like China is becoming like the old, Cold War Russia. Like everything from there is bad. But today, interesting enough, and again, this is why I wanted to talk about, kind of this TikTok Chinese thing, is we have the trade balance, which will be interesting numbers. Again, it's picked to be a little bit less than it was previously, but then also the US dollar denominated trade balance. Okay. And again, they say tentative. They're typically later at night. They have the ability to move both the Aussie and the New Zealand. So when those come in, it could be, it could give us some, some interesting movement tonight. We do have that NAB business confidence for Australia. That typically is not necessarily the biggest mover, but again, because it's business confidence, it's sort of like our consumer confidence here, but on the business side. Businesses aren't as much of a driving factor typically in currencies as the consumer, but again, business confidence, they have a read on what the consumer is feeling. So may give us something interesting. Looking at kind of the news, and again, you're seeing, some Chinese, the economy is, showing steady recovery, but, is that steady slow, steady fast? Again, and a little bit of Brexit information highlights UK's, changing inflation threat, has gone away. This is a big hit to gold, right? The inflation threat hasn't gone away as governments borrow and spend, but they haven't seen the inflation yet. So again, if the inflation never rears its head, this could be an interesting little bubble over here. Looking at the biggest news again, that, the intervention rates. Again, this is, Bulgarian and Croatian, not going to necessarily be the biggest mover. This is interesting too. Wall Street to Washington. Show me the money. Okay. More Brexit stuff over here. And then 5 charts illustrating this. So I don't know. I looked at some of the numbers over the weekend. It looks like every day Florida is trying to outdo itself with new kind of infection rates. I don't know if you guys have looked at your individual states, and it's interesting because, the economy as a whole, at least Wall Street, right? Wall Street is continuing to push, but it's kind of like a race, right? We see certain states that they're having just huge increases, and I looked at it. Wait, let me see if I have it here. I looked at it yesterday, and I was just blown away. Let me pull it up real quick. Yeah, so this is what I was looking at yesterday, right? For Maryland, and for the most part, we've been around, the 500. We're seeing a bit of a spike now, but again, a lot of that is also 4th of July. Like, what happened? Like, how many people were out on boats without masks, and what type of spreading? And again, kind of expected this number, right? We expected it to go a bit. I mean, I'm glad it's not up here, right? But we did expect more. I mean, 4th of July, a lot of people were at barbecues, drinking, boating. You had to expect there was going to be more. It was a big holiday, They canceled fireworks, but everybody was outside with their neighbors doing fireworks. So you had to know that that was coming. But then you drop over here and look at things like this, and the chart looks a little bit different, right? Spiking over 15,000 in one day. So I'm getting curious to see, with these numbers spiking, with things shutting back down again, what is, are the indices going to be able to hold the way that they've been holding, right? Are they going to continue to push? Are we going to see and again, we're talking about, inflation threats. Well, I'm telling you right now, if we start shutting back down, there will be no inflation threat right now. They're going to have to print more to be able to keep the economy where it is. Because I'll tell you right now, with unemployment levels high and going higher with, shutdowns happening again, there's no way that they're going to go into, put it this way, the current sitting regime is not going to allow the stock market to crash also. Because then we have a crash stock market. We have COVID that is still here. And again, people not wearing masks has nothing to do with the president, the administration, Senate, the Supreme Court. That's people being stupid, right? So, yeah. But I'll tell you right now, he's not going to let the U.S. stock market collapse as well. And again, there could be a lot of different bubbles all approaching here. Because I'll tell you right now, if things start shutting down and if unemployment rates continue to rise, and again, we'll see more of those later this week. I think this week, Thursday, is going to be a big day when we look at not only this one for Canada, but when we look at this one, because this one should spike a bit this week as things shut down at the middle of the end of last week. I'll tell you right now, if this stays low, I believe that the economy, the stock market at least, will be more or less at all-time highs. They will do everything in their power to keep rates low, give money, stimulus, sending more checks out, everything in their power to keep that stock market high. If what the polls are showing right now is Trump would lose, right? If Trump loses, all that will instantly disappear and the market will crash like record numbers to the downside. I'll tell you right now, it will just absolutely collapse. So that's kind of what we got to prepare for later on this year. Again, we're going to have some slow months, but we got to see how this ramp up is going and how to position ourselves. So, those of you who know how to play, some longer leaps, there may be some interesting little plays in here for cheap using the same strategies that we use inside of, Nadex with out of the money stuff. So that's what we got going on. So looking at the scanner in the overnight, right? So always love to pull the scanner across. Like I said, Monday mornings is typically not the best day for the scanner, and most times I skip it on Monday mornings because, again, the U.S. market's not open. You don't have any major driving factors. Things that we do see, again, the euro is up versus the dollar, but again, dollar traders are not in the market. Aussie dollar, same thing. Dollar yen. Again, it's like, how is the dollar weak over here, but then strong versus the yen? Doesn't make sense. But then over here, weak versus the CAD. So, kind of one of those things, right? Kind of one of those things. So it hasn't gone online. The Swiss is an interesting setup. And again, at this point, we're still looking more for levels than anything else. Now, I can look at the rest of these. So the euro, for the most part, across the board, you're seeing the euro do well. Sideways up, confirmed. Again, 4 hour, 3 hour, and for most of the point, also in the 5 minutes. You're seeing setups with New Zealand, and you're seeing, and again, interesting enough on these, right? If we're seeing setups, that means we know that there are pullbacks. So an uptrend setup means that it is down currently right now. And again, we're seeing down on the 30-minute. But versus the Aussie and the CAD, again, we're seeing downs, we're seeing setups, but again, showing some weakness against those commodity-based currencies. And there's a lot of reasons for that, right? There's a lot of reasons for that. The CAD basket, again, they're not online, so it's very similar kind of what the majors look like with anything with the dollar-based. But Aussie, you're seeing Aussie strength come back into the markets. Versus in New Zealand, it's more or less sideways. It's nothing really crazy there. But for the most part, we are seeing strength. So, interestingly enough, the commodity currencies are coming back. Okay, again, the CAD versus a few things, the Aussie. And the pound, we're retracing what we saw last week. If you guys remember me mentioning that, last week was a big, strength. And there's a couple pairs we needed to go a bit higher before collapsing. And that's what we're kind of seeing right now. We're seeing those pairs come back down. And again, it's versus the dollar. That's kind of an interesting one. Again, I'm not putting too much stock into that. But again, commodity currency kind of basically, mirrors a commodity currency as well. It's not really considered commodity, but it goes into the same basket. So, and again, you're seeing Aussie, CAD, New Zealand. You're seeing New Zealand over here. You're seeing Aussie, your CAD, and the New Zealand, which is right there and going to the downside. So you're seeing where the strength is in the overnight. All right. And again, just shows who kind of the big boys are on the block right now. So with that said, if we're seeing Aussie strength, depending on what the dollar is doing today, which so far it looks like it's going to be weakness, there may be some extra plays in the Aussie dollar once the U.S. market comes online. Okay. Now, a lot of that's going to depend also, is it tradable? Do we need to go higher? And again, we'll break that down. There's actually some couple of different setups from last week, but I'm going to dive across and we'll show you that in the market. Oh, you know what? I lost my chat. Hold on one sec, guys. Amazon redacted that. I don't know, Sean. The employee I talked to said that he was told that he needs to take it off and just don't put it back on. So maybe they redacted it officially, but yeah, he was told don't do it. Ray, I love your morning. Ray's like, I got morning meetings, but let me know when the pound's here. Somebody messaged me. Yeah, Sean, maybe I didn't hear that it was official, but yeah, the last I talked to him, he said, yep, I was told not to put it back on my phone no matter what. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I honestly, I think there's, again, if it is, I think they got into problems with it because you can't tell people what to do with their own stuff. But like, if you have an Amazon issued phone, then obviously they control that. I think that's where they got into some problems. Somebody probably said something. You know what? Somebody got offended, if that's possible in the U.S., right? Somebody got offended. But yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, he's like, no more TikTok. Let me bring this across. All right, so Aussie dollar, first things first. So here's where we are right now. Last week we were sitting over in this area. So right here, when price was right here, is where we were at for chart school. Okay. Now, we mentioned that there may be another kind of pop off this one. And again, they ended up getting it. Price was here and we said, this could be kind of the end. Let's see if it pushes up. It ended up going back into that same region and actually gave us a second trade on Friday. And that one basically took us from about 9:30 down to about noon. So any of you that were trading after chart school should have been able to get into that Aussie position. Again, for a second hit of that Harry Potter. Now, typically we don't take it twice, but this one was kind of clean because it came off a zone here. Popped all the way up and grabbed it. So where we are now, price is over here at 69.71. We did have a zone that formed a few hours ago. Again, about 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't put as much stock into like the 2 a.m. ones on Monday because, again, the U.S. is not open. It's purely an Aussie trade. So for me on this one, again, we'll remove. I'm going to leave this here for tomorrow morning so they can kind of get, we can kind of talk about that one. But for me right now, I wouldn't be looking so much as far as this zone. It may pull back a little bit. Again, this would be dollar strength when U.S. traders step into the market. Doesn't look like we want to have too much dollar strength out, and there's no real news today to be able to do that. But I would be looking for up in up in this area. And again, we have a level marked off just above it. I believe that was a 4-hour. Yeah, there's 4-hour zone starting right at 70. So up in this kind of zone here, again, it's flirted with it. It got front run, not only here, but here as well. It dropped down into that same Harry Potter, pulled back up again, and again was pushed down again. So 69.90 is an area that I'm going to be looking for kind of intraday shorts today out of, if we can get a little bit of a push higher. Like I said, we will have a U.S. kind of response, a retrace. But that's kind of a little bit of an aggressive entry into that 4-hour zone. And like I said, I'm a very big fan of 4-hour zones, although this one is absolutely gigantic. But I think, this one, because in the overnight, it was just beat up. We will have a bit of kind of a turnaround today. And again, this could be the 10 o'clock reversal trade of the day today. Again, not off this bottom zone, but off this zone up here at 60.90. Now, downside, I think I would still use the same thing. We took a bounce, but it was pretty deep, and we talked about that on Friday. I still think downside, we're looking at, entries probably around 61.20. I'm sorry, 69.20. A lot of it depends on what happens if it bases right below, and we got quite a bit of room to run for that one. We got about 50 pips. It absolutely can do it the next 24 hours. So again, once the U.S. traders come online, we'll see, what happens, what pushes. We'll say, like I said, bit of room to run there. If anything, I'm probably more bearish minded in this one, or more bearish biased. Do think it needs to pop a little bit though before we turn and flip back to the downside. Okay, now Aussie yen. Aussie yen, you guys can see last week as well. We had some bouncing back and forth, and again, chart school the other day was, let's see. Right here. We're sitting kind of right in the middle. And again, we've already hit it. This one ended up kind of bouncing back and forth. And it hit, and it went down, and it missed by just a few pips to the downside. And then spent a lot of extra time in there. So again, this is one of those ones. If you were short this one, you should have grabbed a bit of profit out of it. Probably, if you had just a limit order in there, you wouldn't have, you would have gotten more or less stopped out by the end of the day right here. Again, you wouldn't have wanted to hold this one over the weekend. So more or less sideways. We got 2 entries. Didn't quite hit 1 to 3. Both of them hit about 2.5 or above. This one was like a 2.9. We missed it by just a few pips on that entry. And then again, it ended up hitting and popping back again to over half, about 60% of the way down. So this is one of those ones. It made many valid attempts. And again, 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touches, and 4 was the magical one to break through the top. We had another little zone right here. But again, talking, it's super, this is an early morning hit. So again, it's not really something we necessarily focus on a lot. You could have taken this and said, hey, listen, there's a bit of a small zone here. And again, it did retrace. It was about a 2 to 1. If you were able to take it, the entry was super, super early, like 2 a.m. in the morning. And this one would have been, hit its peak at about 5. I know many of you are not, you guys live farther west than I do. So it probably was not, the easiest entry for you guys. So at this point, we need to look a little bit higher. I would say most likely this area. And again, interesting. We have this trade from last week that we set up at the Nadex webinar. Again, aggressive at 74.96. Not as aggressive at 75.05. A little bit more conservative entry. Again, front run hasn't made it. So again, that may be, you have 2 options. Do I need to get in now, or do I want a little bit more confirmation and getting it up the top? And again, the reason I bring up both options here is the way that this formed. Again, it pushed down, pushed up, pushed down, pushed up, and then collapsed. This kind of rollover effect, I do like that. I love how the wicks are lower, 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 lower versus just one spike. And again, this zone was tested, so it's kind of like, it was tested to here, but then front run, and kind of front run here as well. But then the way that this rolled and then collapsed, kind of a hard one to say which one is better. This may be like the difference between like a B plus or an A minus. Like there's not really a big difference, or even like an A minus A. It could be. So either of these is not bad. I think, again, 74.96 or 75.06 is probably not bad, right? Hold on, what? Someone was offended. I've not heard that random before. I know, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure somebody was offended that they can't put it on their iPhone. So I'm gonna remove this one, guys, because Nadex did not see this one. It was just you guys. And again, nice learning. Again, one of those golden nuggets we like to try to get out as much as can. 1, 2, 3, and bam, pop through the top. So we love to see those. All right, so again, let's wait till price gets up on this one. Looking at euro yen. So euro yen, again, we have this price tag up top. You guys can see it bounced off here. This was that early morning bounce, and then we got another kind of retracement at 8 when it pulled back. We had talked about that, and we talked about if anything we'd be more bearish focused. And again, that's all that happened. It just continued to grind higher. Each of these zones in here, again, this one gave it a little bit of resistance and kind of wick, 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 wick. This zone here as well, you guys can see. Here I'll draw it just to make it a little easier on you. Again, this is why Friday I'm not really as much of a big into this. This is actually super early morning again. What did it do? It bounced off. It made it to about almost 2 to 1, right? Let's see how close were we on this one. Oops. Not that. Hold on. Right there. So yeah, you can see it about 2 to 1 on that one to the downside. And again, yen wasn't really trading, right? Yen is associated with the U.S. market. 2 o'clock in the morning, our markets are really not doing anything. So again, a little bit of a small piece off of that one. But again, not something that I'm necessarily looking at, but again, on a normal day, it may have been something you're looking for. So at this point, let's just get the pom-poms out. Let's cheer for this one. It needs about 40 more pips to move. Again, there is a zone and then another zone on top of it, and it is inside of a 4-hour zone as well. Yes, there's an aggressive entry here based off the way this moved, but again, the wick over wick is probably a little bit better because that's what this reaction occurred off of, as well as the zone for the top of the the peak up here. And again, the 121.85 to 121.96 is really more kind of where I'm looking on this one. Again, wait for it to come up. Again, it's 8:30 now. Can this move 40 pips in 2 hours? Maybe. I mean, it's the 1 hour is it has a 14 pip ATR, but it's Monday. Markets are not online, and this will pick up a little bit. So it's possible, right? It's possible. Again, it could be maybe an 11 o'clock bounce today, right? Maybe an 11 o'clock bounce. Maybe Monday's going to be a little bit slow. Or maybe it rolls over just a little bit and we miss it. But for me, I'm looking for 121.85. And again, downside, probably. I feel more comfortable down here. I have to see what it looks like on the way down. Again, this is quite a long, from here down, you're talking about 140 pips. That is about 2 to 3 days worth of movement. All right. So not quite worried about the downside. I don't see anything today earth shattering. Tomorrow, maybe a little bit more, again, with CPI. This one could have some movement, as well as with the pound GDP tomorrow morning. This is not the pound, but again, the euro yen and the pound yen tend to move kind of together, right? So speaking of the pound yen, let's go across. So here is a position we had. Again, this is another one of those ones. Let's see. We were 710 at 8. We were sitting right here. Right, so this one was pushing down at 9 o'clock. Again, that's where it turned and flipped. We had to push down, and it was about 2/3 of the way. It actually hit where the profit target technically should have been. Again, we mentioned this before that, again, it is the burst that forms the base is where your profit target is. In this case, the 1 to 3 was a little bit far, and again, it hit the profit target and then ended up going back up again for that kind of continuation move. So, again, one that if you were short during chart school that we mentioned it here, you definitely would not have lost money. It was 80% of the way, guys. Remember, we need to protect our winners. So I'll take that off now because we don't need it. At this point, again, you guys can see we talked about how there was a little bit of a zone here, right? And you can see the reaction off of it, a push back to the downside. This was one that came in at about 11 o'clock. More or less coincided with that 10 o'clock reversal-ish time. And you can see it ended up hitting here and then finished off the day, right? Today went obviously a bit higher, right? A little bit higher. This was that kind of the Harry Potter entry again that we talked about, but obviously a bit farther. This is where the true Harry Potter entry was. So this is not something that I would have taken. Would not have necessarily advised against it. Again, it was associated with the European Open. And again, that's about the only reason I would have even looked at taking it. Again, I don't trade European Open on Mondays. It's just I want to make sure that the U.S. market is open because I like to play off of it. But again, you can see it did push back down again off of that same zone. So remember, old becomes new in a lot of cases. Not only did it hit profit here, it based, went higher, based again in that same level. Didn't get front running again. This was that trade I was sorry that we missed. Dropped back down again, and what did it do? It hit the same level again and also dropped, put in a 60 or 56 pip drop. So that's quite a lot. As far as entries where we go now, I still think that this level down here at 34.06 is probably good. We're kind of sitting in no man's land in the middle. And, I do like the 136.05. That's what we talked about for Nadex last week. Again, it got front run on that 4-hour zone. But if you're looking for a little bit more intraday aggressive entry, I would say not necessarily the wick over wick bottom, but the 135.69 is probably the better right there. I do like that top and bottom. So for me today, I'm going to have my alert set bracketing off 135.69 and 134.06. Okay. Dropping down to the pound. All right. So the pound. See what happened here? What is this? Right? All right. So here's what we have going on with the pound. As you guys can see, this is an hourly overlay on there. We've had a couple things set up on this one. Here's where we are right now. When we go back and look for the 10th at 8, we're sitting right here. Okay, right here. So what did we mark off? We said that there was a zone sitting up there. As you guys can see, this one also hit the 11, dropped again. And what did it do this weekend? All right, this weekend for the London Open, we were sitting in the same spot and it had the same collapse. So it's the same trade. I can go up to the hourly if you guys want to see it a little bit easier. You guys can see it right there. And again, these are multiple things we've had marked off. We had this other one, again, this one was even higher, the more conservative. And again, that's where the London Open started from last week. So depending on which one, if you're looking for the intraday, and again, here, I'll space it out so you guys can see it a little bit better. Here is the one, right? Again, did that one hit entry? Right there. Here, yes. Here, yes. So you could have used that one and you were fine. This was a smaller one based off of the hourly zone that formed here. And again, the reason why we were looking at this one and why we drew this one on Friday is because the original one off the 4-hour zone has 24 pips risk. The one that we created on Friday only has 11 pips risk. So here was your Friday entry. Down, you were good. Here was your UK Open today. Opening in that same zone that provided profit on Friday. Brought us all the way back down again. 1 to 3 was good. 1 to 5 was good. Came to the opposing zone. Right where the profit is. Again, here's the profit target. What did it do? Boom, and it's riding along the top of that. So we're good for this one right now. Kind of the same idea. So I'm thinking, the way I'm looking at this is, again, looking at kind of the general top and bottom, we still need to respect the 126.57. Okay? That is about 60 pips above where we are. Now, it does look like it's continuing to drive down. And where is it right now? I would say it's sitting in the middle of the zone. We have 125.44 as kind of the last little kind of basing level down here. And again, a little bit of an aggressive level. I think on the hourly is where we came up that one. Yeah, we got this level here. So again, this is our real strong area. This is kind of a minor, more aggressive area. And then again, here's your top. So if we're taking kind of top and bottom, we're kind of sitting in the middle, right? We're kind of sitting in the middle. So it needs to chunk through this level. And again, it will do it. I don't think this level is going to hold much longer. Again, it's hit, and the sellers are coming in and forming kind of this shell on the top and kind of overhang, like kind of an umbrella, right? It will now test this bottom section. And again, we'll see if that area can hold. It wasn't the biggest explosive move out. Like this was a great explosive move out. This one kind of petered around a little bit and popped and then kind of came down and got front run. So we know there's some buyers here. Are they the best buyers? I wouldn't say the best. So we'll see. So big things for me is I'm looking for this to come down. Again, smaller time frame. We may be able to get kind of a smaller entry here. And you can see on the 15-minute, neither of these levels is really singing out loud, and they're literally right on top of each other. This first one, again, 30-minute zone is at risk of breaking right now. We have this other zone here, and again, it wasn't the best. Unfortunately, it's not necessarily the best short candidate. It is going short. It is going kind of with trend. But the problem is, our buyer's going to step in here. If this pulls up, our buyer's going to step in here. And if they don't, how much is it going to move? It's going to move 20 pips. So the question is, what type of risk can we actually get on this one? How small would it need to be to make us, to get us down to this 125.44? And that assumes that we go through this zone of buyers and this zone of buyers, and then we can make it all the way down. Like I said, 30 pips is about this big of a range, so it's got a bit to move. So we really needed to come down and base here, right? Base somewhere in this level here would be ideal. If we can base in this zone and we can sneak in a 3-to-1 where this target is a little bit in front of this 125.44, then we have an entry. And again, maybe, it could be there, right? So instead of that, like somewhere, some type of basing in there. All right. That's kind of what we need. And again, we needed to base through, push drop, and then when it punches through the bottom of these buyers, that's where we're looking for a pullback up again. So that's, and again, we're on a 15-minute chart, just keep that in mind. But that's going to go with what the daily trend is. That'll get you in at a little bit cheaper price. It'll also get you out at an area where we know buyers are, most have stepped in the past and most likely will step in again. So you want to make sure that you've taken your profit before that. So that's kind of a potential setup for what we have looking for that. Euro pound. All right, so this one, again, we knew this one was low on the curve. We were looking for this one to retrace back up again. It's obviously moving right now, right? Obviously moving the euro. And again, we mentioned it last week, guys. We talked about this being low, not really having many entries. We wanted to come really low because, again, it was one level here, another smaller zone, and another level here, and another 4-hour overlap. There was so much junk like in this area here. And we were just literally going sideways at this 189.46. And we drawn a look at this. I mean, just sucked in a little bit above, kind of gap below, right? From here to here, that weekend gap kind of came back up again, and that was a reversal. So it's okay. I still think we need to wait till 90.10. That, we're not far from that. We're only about 20 pips. So we could definitely hit that and then kind of get a slow reversal, right? This movement right here, right? This movement of 48 pips, that's really the most. I mean, again, one burst here, but for the most part, really flat, boom, really flat, boom, really flat, boom. If we can get just a bit higher, I could see the same thing happening. A duration of flat with a collapse. Now, remember, tomorrow at 2 a.m., we have the pound GDP, right? Previously, we were at minus 20% for GDP. It's forecast to be 5%. Okay, if this number comes in a bit above, right, what does that do? That kind of coincides with if this starts to flatline, does this, comes back up again, all of a sudden, we find ourselves in a zone like this with GDP news coming in tomorrow morning. So, gives us the opportunity to be able to get in for some type of a news release. Euro pound is not as heavily traded. The premium technically is not there as often. May give us an interesting trade setup. And again, that would be taking the same trade over here. Taking it short, looking for kind of our 1 to 3, 1 to 5. I'd make sure that you were out by, kind of the same area, this 180, this kind of zone in here. I'd make sure I was out probably here. 89.28 is probably where I'd look to get out of that one. Okay. But it would be kind of bouncing up, grabbing the zones in here, and then again, kind of a push back down. So it's kind of a standard trade as well as a kind of a news-based trade for tomorrow. All right. Euro dollar. So euro dollar, we had a zone marked off. And again, this one also, let's see, make sure my timing is right. Here is 10 at 8 o'clock in the morning. So this is where we were. Again, price had pushed back down again. We'd moved 2/3 of the way through before we kind of got that reversal. It came in sooner, but again, we knew that that was most likely going to happen. Again, this one, I would say, it could have done a bit more, and I was hoping that it was. I liked the profit target on this one. I thought the zone was good on this one, and we missed it by a total of 3 pips. And again, that happens. I mean, we had moved down about 23, 24 already. It was a small zone. It technically had already been hit one time. We hit it again. So again, once we're up that far, you're up, 80% to your profit target. Again, your stop loss is definitely a break even. So you made a few pips off this one. And again, what did it do? It came back up based on that same level and has now bounced. So we can remove that one right now. We don't really need it. I was trying to grab this and move this across. We're not at a top or bottom area. Again, when the U.S. market comes online, this one will give us a bit more movement. We're about 35 pips until we start hitting these 4-hour and hourly overlap zones. 113.79, I think, is an important level. Again, you can see the dot, the dots around it. That is overlaid with a 4-hour zone right now. So this is kind of a 1 hour inside of a 4. I think that's a much better setup than where we are right now. So again, we start or we enter that zone around 113.73. But any type of pop up into that zone, look for a confirmation reversal. Look for a red, green, red on the lower time frame, whether 15 or 30. And again, start taking that back to the downside. Overall, in the daily, again, we are getting very, very high on the curve. We have some daily zones that are coming in above. And again, we didn't really make it up there. If we get a push, again, there's always going to be these minor trends. But again, just keep this in mind that we are kind of getting high over here. And again, I don't see anything, there's no reason why in Europe everything is, much better than what we have, right? Economically, they were starting off in a worse situation than we were. So I can see some dollar strength coming back in. Because I'll tell you right now, the more money that we print, the more emphasis there's going to be on gold and inflation and the weakening dollar. But at the same time, if we don't see that inflation, it will kind of bring it back again. And remember, as soon as inflation rears its head, the first thing the Fed is going to do is talk about how long till they raise interest rates, which brings strength back to the dollar. So I don't actually mind inflation because I think inflation will actually bring us, interest rates rising, which will help slam this thing right back down again. All right. I really want this to go to parity. I really, really, really want this to go to parity. And it loves to tease me, but it's like, man, come on, you're down in this range. You can get back down to like 106, and then people get nervous, right? People get nervous then. But I want parity in that one. All right. Whoops. Resize everything back again. Come on, adjust. There we go. All right. So pom-poms, we want it to go higher. Then we would take this thing short and run it down. All right. Dollar CAD. So dollar CAD is down 18. All right. So dollar CAD had this really funky move right here. All right. So this occurred, and here I'll do it on the 30-minute because that's what we're used to looking at for this one. You guys can see this one kicked in yesterday at the open, and it was all the way down, all the way up. It grabbed it and turned around again. Now, unfortunately on this one, this is one of those ones that technically should have been on the report. Unfortunately, I did not get it on the report. All right. Didn't get this one on the report. This is going back to the baby yet again. It should have been, but again, I don't want to, you guys know I don't cook data whatsoever. My fault, my bad. Should have been a good one. Didn't work. But anyway, so a lot of this had to do with this crazy spike. And again, I saw it. It was up there. I had it written down. I got distracted with the child and didn't get it on the report. That level, I would say at this point, is still a valid level. Okay. Not so much the gap, but the reaction in the zone it formed off of the gap. Okay. Now, again, you guys know, again, if you're following the Sunday night gap strategy, there is where your zone should have been. And again, definitely move 3 to 1. Now, again, I like how this came up. This is how I actually had this is how I had the zone drawn, right? Based off of that level. Okay. That's how I had the zone drawn. So it went well beyond that. I would probably use that same thing. Okay. So the risk is rather small in it. It's only about 6 pips. So it's not a lot. Okay. The reaction, the fact that it retraced up again is kind of what leads me to believe that, hey, listen, I think that's another good zone. Now, it's got some room to run there. I mean, it's got about 35, 36 pips to go there. We would need a pretty hard reversal right now for that to kind of switch and move. I'm kind of wondering, in looking at the candles on the left, I'm kind of wondering more if this is going to be a day of just dollar weakness across the board. We've kind of seen it so far. Will U.S. traders step in and decide that we need dollar strength today? And I don't know, because again, there's not really any U.S. news or talks or anything that really monumental happened that I can see saying, hey, listen, this was good. All I can really see them talking about is like Florida's record-breaking numbers, like, oh, we broke the record again, right? And again, I think that's going to lead to more dollar weakness. Looking at these candles, I don't really see a whole lot really from here to here that can stop us from coming back down to this level that we've talked about, really back down into 135.03. Okay, so for today, although I like that level above, I am kind of more bearish. I feel that we're going to get a break of this. The big kind of question mark for me is what turned this here, right? What exactly got us here, right? There's a small zone, right? There is a small zone here. Let me actually change the color of this one. Go to yellow. Okay. There is this small zone here, but the way I'm looking at it, it's like, listen, we know that that's turned. This little minor hiccup, but nothing the kind of this level of pullback. So what I'm thinking is a potential Harry Potter trade set up to the downside here, and the 1 to 3 I'm good with, right? The 1 to 3 it's above this, but if it can make it to the 1 to 3, there's a slight hiccup, but I don't think we'll have any kind of. I think we could make it all the way down to 135.03. All right, if we kind of push through that level. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for this one. And again, like I said, my bad. I should have put it on before I started messing with the kid, and I ended up jumping through it too fast and ended up missing it. But that's just me. I refuse to go back and add things after the fact. I also don't use. Remember, guys, on the report, I only use the 1 to 3 targets. I do not ever use the 1 to 5s. So, yeah, I could probably cook the books. Everybody else does, right? I'm just not into it. So that's what I'm looking for, guys. Break of 135, pull back up, get some white space, use that as your entry, your risk level. Your risk is about 8 pips. Push it down to 135.03. All right, dollar yen. All right, so dollar yen, again, we had a level here. We had a little bit of a basing. It didn't hit it. It had some problems with it. Again, this one kind of just expired where it didn't really do much. Again, when it pulled up and based here, it's like, yeah, it's not. I'll keep it on the radar, but I'm not looking to take any entries off of it. I never deleted it from the weekend. And like I said, once it based here and then we ended the week, it's out. It's out. It's just not. Going from Friday to Monday, the trends obviously change. This type of setup where you have this drop in here, this is really for kind of a continuation, a pullback, and then continue to get short. And it bounced off some level, so it's not something we can use. So right now, we're approaching an area where we have a lot of basing, a lot of sideways movement, a lot of chop, right? Push down, up, down, back and forth. And it started to, kind of expand out before it finally collapsed to the downside. We're in a minor level right now. Obviously, you have this little kind of piece in here. This one is kind of a wait and see. Right, kind of a wait and see right now. I like to play this one on Mondays most times for reversal. You got to look at it on a 30-minute. And again, here's that minor level we're talking about. What I'm kind of shooting for, and again, it's only about 12 pips away. I was hoping that it would be not as close, but now I'm kind of hoping that the first hour of trading kind of is slow. What I wanted to see was a steady push up in green. Slow candles, and again, they don't have to be big. They could be like this, and I was looking for this level here, as far as, something along those lines is what I was looking for. I wanted to coincide with whether the morning open or really 10 o'clock. I mean, again, I like that reversal. It's been kind of pushing up and being strong all night. That would be a great little level. Again, it's been tested once. It's minor. Good reversal setup if we can time it correctly. So again, we'll see what the U.S. Open kind of gives us strength-wise. We'll see if we can get, again, we don't want a basing level right below that. We don't want, buyers forming right below that level. But that's kind of a small level. Again, it's one of the trades that I have as a potential trade setup for this morning. If we're for some reason able to blow through that, again, there are levels and zones up here. We have 107, what is it, 107.69? Yeah, 107.70 was another level that we had talked about before that, has already been hit once and pushed away. And again, that was more of a Nadex setup that we were talking about from last week. All right. It's a lightning bolt trade. Wait, what's the Harry Potter trade? Ray, seriously, you're asking me that? Come on. Yeah, it's a lightning bolt. It's a lightning bolt pattern, Ray. It's a highly technical term. Yeah, it's technical. I'm telling you right now. I'm waiting for the email from, J.K. Rowling's or whatever to stop you. It's like, hey, Harry Potter is trademarked, and I'm gonna have to come up with a different name. Maybe I'll call it like what's that? How would you say? I forget what it's called. There's like an English term for it. I'll change the P and the H, and we'll rename it something else so she can't say, it doesn't have Harry's likeness. There's no glasses. But yeah, it's basically just a continuation pattern through the lightning bolt trade. But that doesn't. The Harry Potter trade rings with people, right? You get it. You're like, oh, I know what that is. The lightning bolt, it's kind of like, I mean, I'm sure I could probably put something together and be like, hey, I'm renaming it. I'm changing it. Here's the lightning entry or something like that. But the Perry Hotter, I think is probably better, right? But you know what? Now that you type it out, like the Perry Hotter, the fact that it says Hotter, like I really feel like that was probably like maybe like an adult film, right? I feel like there's been a parody on that already. Maybe there is, maybe there's not, maybe there will be, but I really feel like Perry Hotter is, yeah. I feel like that is an adult parody film. I can't have that now, right? Not that this stream is, marked for like not for kids, but we got to keep it clean, guys. Got to keep it clean. But 107.31 is where I'd be looking. All right, the Swiss. All right, so the Swiss has actually had a decent amount of movement in the overnight. Again, up 32 pips for this one is not bad. It has a daily ATR of 52, so again, that's a lot of movement in a short period of time. This one is moving up, and we're getting close to this zone at 94.42. Been talking about this for a while. This is a lot of movement in one direction. A lot of movement in one direction. All right. I moved as well. Why this one? I thought I had this one set up too, but maybe I did not. Oh, you know what? I had the higher one. I probably had the higher one. Yeah. So anyway, waiting for this one to come up to 94.42. I think this one can make it. What I was just looking at, guys, is on the other chart. The one, so I have different platforms that I use. Obviously, you guys know that I do things with Ninja. I do MT4. I have Oendo's platform up as well. I have a couple different platforms that I use to do different charting. And I basically have one that I do levels on, one that I do curves on, one that I do all the Sunday night gaps. It's interesting. This candle is different here than the one that I use for the Sunday night gaps. Here, this would have been successful. The one that I use for the Sunday night gaps to keep it consistent, it was not a successful trade setup. So that's kind of interesting. So the strategy was still good here, but yet on the other one, it didn't. The candle formation was a bit different. And again, that can happen with currencies. It's just slightly different, just a little tiny bit, and this one actually is different. So that's pretty interesting that one, again, valid trade setup, strategy is good, just the platform, the pricing was a little bit off. So for me, guys, I want this one to come up, kind of the same idea. We need to move about 12, 13 pips up, look for a reversal in this one, and then again, basically, dollar's been rallying. Let's look for a reversal in this one and kind of flip back to the downside. Is what I would call for. All right, NQ. So NQ, kind of the same story we've talked about before. We had that trade that we talked about last week. Again, it popped. This was on Friday. Let me make sure my time is right before I start talking about that one. This was Friday at 8:30. This is what we moved in, right here. We brought it down. Right here is where chart school was done. Actually, yeah, right here is where chart school was done on the 15-minute for NQ, right? Because we did 8 to 9. So 8 is here. There's 9. There's your drop down. And actually, interestingly enough, it actually did pause on this the 30-minute level and pop back up again. So there was a second entry, is much, much smaller, but kind of an interesting kind of target on that one. Again, this was that kind of failure to go higher bit. Again, ideal? No, but again, the open is what took this one and just collapsed it down. So what I would say on this one is, again, much, much lower time frame. Wait for this one and kind of see what we got. Again, everything that's happened from really kind of here across, this isn't the overnight. It's just computers messing back and forth, kind of messing with each other. And you can see not really a lot of concerted movement. Wait for this one to open. Again, this one is great for kind of traps early in the morning. And again, this is a perfect example. Rally. People are like, yeah, it's rallying all morning. Market opens, poof, tanks, and takes all that stuff out. So I would look for something similar. Again, being up in this all-time high, range. Again, we're gonna have to look for, again, that type of entry. I wouldn't even say that any of the levels here. I mean, again, we have one level here, but it started and formed at 4:30 in the morning. Probably not the best takeoff point as far as getting long for this one. Yeah, I'd wait for the US Open, see if we can get in a type of pop. Look to see what type of 30-minute levels we have on there. Look to see, I mean, again, if it just starts to fall now, this could be an interesting or the reversal level or minor entry, right, in that zone. And we'll see. Again, if it punches right through the top in the next 20 minutes, again, it's not going to be valid. But if this starts to push down, that could signify an area where if we have a pullback, if this continues to push down for the next kind of, say, 30 minutes or whatever, and then starts to rally back up, there could potentially be something there. We'll see. This one is kind of this is where we are with this one. We're not an if this, then that. This one is gotta watch it. If this is coming, okay, great. There's nothing set up on it currently right now. But again, hopefully I think some of you guys got this. Sean, I feel like you got it. Didn't you? I think you said something about this one. I know Carl got this one. Oh, no. I don't think Carl got this one. Carl was fighting back. I think Carl may have been on the opposite end of this one. But somebody wrote me and messaged her. I saw it in the forums that somebody caught this one last week. So that's always good to see. All right, so here we are. Here was the same setup. And again, this one ended up pulling down rather fast as well. So we can remove these levels from last week. Let's take a lot of these off and clear this one up. All right, so we're sitting over here right now. I'm just going to move this. You know what? I'll just delete that one. I don't need it right now. So, all right. Still have this level up here at approximately 32.19. And I'm still kind of holding firm for that one. Like I said, I think that's a much cleaner level. When you're looking on an hourly, you go back a bit. That level up here, again, dropped, didn't go as high, dropped again. Again, strong movement away, came back up, boom, and then front run. So that's the level for me for shorts. I would say on this one as well, I am bearish focused. I am bearish biased. Do need to be bullish in like the next hour and do need to come a bit higher, but I think if we can get up into that range, and again, if you're looking how to form this one on yours, go back and that candle was formed on 6/8 at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You should be able to see it. On a 4 hour, again, you should be able to pull it on the 4 hour, the peak up here. And again, you'll see the drop, the pull up, and the drop again. That's how you form that zone. I just dropped it on the lower time frame, so it would be a little bit easier for us to see. All right. But again, that's coming in at approximately 132.19. I may be off by just a little bit. Remember, ECN data is not exact. I would keep that one up. Again, I'd be more bearish this one than anything else today. Okay. And again, that coincides kind of what we were looking for NQ. If that's a top, that today will be negative. Again, a lot of those numbers are going to be COVID-based numbers. Now, same thing. Here is where we ended last week. We're kind of sitting in that zone. Again, this one took its first bounce off and then continued to push higher. These were levels that we were looking at. This is where it opened, interestingly enough. Let's see. Let me go up. I was like, why does this look funky? Yeah, here we go. I was like, I know we had a level in this one. What's going on with that? So as you can see, we have a zone. Kind of we're bouncing off it right now. I mean, it's a zone that we marked off in the past. We have an hourly zone kicking in at around 26,467. We are bouncing off this again, this white zone right here. If you guys can see this one again, we've hit it and it's pushed, and that's where we are right now. So like the NQ and the ES, I would say the YM also is kind of set up for kind of a negative open. I mean, that's what it looks like. It looks like they pushed it up in the overnight to have kind of a negative push. Again, maybe Wall Street will have the ability to kind of punch through, but if it does punch through, again, we have hourly levels right above, and again, we have 4-hour levels right above as well. So it's kind of pushing. I mean, if it wants to really push above not only this white zone, but this, the 26,467, it's going to have some oomph today. Like, it's really going to have some like big drive, right? There'd have to be some big news. Like, there had to be, I mean, I don't know, Merck or Pfizer would have to be like, oh, by the way, we have we went to the final stage of testing. We'll have a vaccine in a month. We're already producing it. So as soon as they say yes, it's out. I don't know. I feel like that's what we're looking at right now. By the way, that's what I didn't know if you guys know that the vaccine companies are doing that, right? It's in phase 3, so they can get data based off of it, and they're already producing the vaccinations. So if it fails, it's like, it's wasted money for them, but they are already producing it to get that far ahead of the curve. Don't know who they give it to first, but who knows? I did see, by the way, I don't know if any of you guys saw this yesterday, but if you have O blood type, you are a little bit more, I guess they've looked at kind of data from 750,000 people, and the people with O blood types have an advantage of fighting it, I guess, or are more resistant to it, or they need more virus accumulation or something. I was trying to read it the other day, but yeah, basically if you're an O blood type, it's kind of like a perk, right? It's like a bonus in the fight against COVID. I actually have no idea what I am, which is kind of bad. I asked my mom, like, Mom, what I am? She's like, I don't know. I was like, well, what's my sister? She's like, I don't know. I was like, you're a great mom. You're supposed to know these things. I know what my sons are, but I feel like they may be O's. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not a blood guy, so I don't do like the blood test every week. It doesn't. I don't even do it yearly, so I don't know. But I should probably find that out. But yeah, if you guys are O blood type, bonus for you today. You're better equipped to fight COVID. So again, for me, this one looks like it's going to be a downside as well. So gold is sitting inside of a 30-minute level. We marked off some levels last week, and again, lower time frame. So 118.12 to 118.15 was an area where I was looking to get short. Where we were for last week, again, here's at 8:30. Let's go back to 10 right here. We were sitting right here. We were sitting in this zone. So I mentioned last week, again, guys, this is where, and I'll draw the line, right here. Right there is where we were. Actually, I talked about this one at the end. So we were probably right there, right? As you can see, that's the 8:30 candle. I can even use the 9 o'clock candle if you want me to. There's the 9 o'clock candle. If you guys remember, and again, it's not till 10 o'clock, not till 9:30 where this dropped. I drew this white box saying, listen, there's not a lot holding this back up again. I could see this falling back down again. And what did we do? It collapsed through. So the reason I'm showing you this is not bragging, guys. If you look here, and again, remember what I talked about with the pound yen? Looking at the candle formation, there was no real pullbacks. What I mean by that is this. No wick pullback, no wick pullback, no wick pullback, and then finally this is where the base occurred. And you can see that's exactly what it ran into. Again, this is your gold nugget for today. This is a racetrack. There is no pullbacks. Again, it opened at the low, opened at the low, opened at the low. Okay? Those are nice. And what did it do? It broke through that level. There's the box, drove all the way down again, so it was a nice move. So again, those are those little hidden patterns. Is this different than this? Yes. There's a wick over wick in the middle. There is not in here. So that's why I drew this, because I always get questions like, well, how did you know it was going to go down? I didn't know. Like, no one knows, right? I don't have a crystal ball, but that's why I drew this, is saying, hey, listen, if it could break this level, no wick, no wick, no wick, no wick. You got to be assuming that it's going to retrace back down again. This is a parabolic move, right? There's no pullbacks. It's a motion in one direction in a very kind of accelerated manner. That's what that's what, and again, accelerated pullback, right? Accelerated down, starts the pullback and rallies back again. On a small time frame like this, again, we rallied right back to the start of the move, grabbed some more orders, and continue to move. So for me on this one, I would not be using this level. It's now gone back up to the origin of this kind of accelerated move down. It's basing 1812, 1815, that zone up in there. Again, aggressive or, a little bit more passive if you want, or downside. I'm actually not looking to get long, but this is the same thing that happened here is what I have set up over here. That's why I have this one, and that's a break of 1719. I'm sorry, 1791. A little dyslexic there to the downside. Again, looking to shoot this one down to 1781. All right. No, well, it's not bragging. I hate people who are like, "Are you trying to brag?" No, I'm not bragging. It's a teaching moment. And again, that's why I have some of these set up over here. And we actually have these on a couple different trades, and that's kind of, I'm going to leave this on to talk about it as well for tomorrow. Again, I try to make sure that I give you guys like one education port each time. And that's why I leave a lot of these old positions on, so you can kind of see it. But because we have so many of these, if it drops lower, that's why I want to leave these things on, right? Because it's the same. This is the same reason that this is here. And I don't always explain it. I'm trying to get better at explaining, like, well, why do you have that square there? What does that square mean? To give you guys kind of just a more enriched experience. That's why. All right. Silver. So silver finally came up and hit that zone. So we've had this one. And again, this was actually our alert function. We were looking to get short this one at 1925. It's pushed up. Again, it's right at kind of where the alert line is. I think it was a 4-hour level. Yeah, it's the 4-hour level up here. So it's high. It's not quite up there. It's flirting with the alert. So if anything, keep this one on your radar today, guys. If we can go a bit higher, where the heck is the 4-hour level? There we go. Actually, it's a daily level. We need to just go a bit more. So let me drop down. It's the best way to see this one. Come on. There we go. Right there. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's right. It's sitting right there. Right there. Right there. 1923. So super, super close. Again, keep your risk small on this one. This would be one probably more of a Natick-based trade. The zone it formed is actually pretty large, so I don't know that I would take it in like a futures situation. But I do think this one has some potential to move back to the downside. And I do like where it is on the hourly. I like, kind of how this one is set up. I like the fact that it's pushing higher. I just don't see, anything on a daily here. You can see there's a lot of levels. We're very, very high, many levels, big turn. So there's a lot of big areas of sellers up here. So I do like this one to continue to push back to the downside. All right. CAD Yen, again, CAD Yen, we had a couple levels set up. This one had got really funky with spikes, and then the weekend happened. So again, this one is more setting up for tomorrow. We're in a small level right now. Obviously, there's a small level right here. Once Friday closes, these all technically should be deleted because I won't hold those levels over the weekend on kind of the downside like this. We have CAD news. Wednesday is a very, very big day for CAD news. So right now we're kind of middle of the range on this CAD Yen. Again, and you guys know I'm big into CAD Yen for news days, but that's really about it. Right now, I'm really not even looking at this level. I probably wouldn't trade this level. For the CAD right now, I'd be looking for, again, keep these on your radar. If we get up high, good. If we get low, again, kind of the same thing. So, set yourself an alert in this area because there's a potential area right here. And set yourself an alert if we break the low here. And again, you can find the numbers on yours. Again, you may want to, this is potentially tradable depending on what it looks like. But really, I'm looking for this or this by Wednesday. So not much until that time. Let me pull up, let's see, trading view. Let's see, give me some oil. Let's see if it saved it today. Did it save it? The full feature chart survey says yes, it did. All right, there's your oil trade. Okay, from last week. Remember, I don't know if anybody took this one or not. We talked about, hey, listen, we have two options on this one. We have the pull down, and again, not really a confirmation. It pulled up and down very quickly. But then what did we do? We broke out the top. We pulled back in the Harry Potter, and boom, went right up to profit. And you can see the red candle comes right out the top. And that one was, we set this one. I remember we set this one. And again, we ended up going just a bit above the profit target on it. Again, that was on the smaller side. And then the bottom side, we're kind of at that same level. So this level, this price level here has been a big, kind of a big magnet, right? Pulled it in, dropped away. Base, came up, pulled away again, pulled away again. So, we've hit this one numerous times at this point. Delete these to clear it up because I hate how the overlay works on that one. So right now, I'd be looking for, let's see, delete that one to clear some of these drawings up. This is probably a small level for like an intraday trade setup, right? Again, we pushed up, we based, we dropped, we kind of retested and then pushed back down again. At this point, this bottom level, again, you can kind of keep it on your radar, but I wouldn't be taking any trades off of it. It's really been kind of forced in both directions. But this would be a push back up into that 40-50 range. We're at 40.18, so we need about a 30-cent move today. We could probably get that. And that wouldn't be a bad short. Probably. There's a level here on this one. Oops. Right there. Right. Fortunately, I don't really love the positioning of that one in the middle. It's probably small intraday trade to the downside. I don't know that I would take this take this long here. And I don't know if you guys can see this or not here. Let's move this forward just a bit. There's that one. There's this. You know what? I'll just move this one down. So don't confuse everybody. Easier to put it there. There's a wick over wick right there. So here's a question. Let's see. Yeah, 3-1 is right. Right. I can't get it now. I'm leaving it there. 2.99. So that's actually that'd be kind of an intraday trade I'd be looking at. I don't think that's bad. Level's been tested one time. It had a great reaction out of that level. That zone comes in at approximately $40.53. Profit on this one would be taking this one. You guys could probably see the data right there a little bit. Yeah, be $39.94. So that's not that bad. Upside, you could also take the same thing if you really wanted to. Again, if we get a sudden reversal, sudden change really quickly, you could take a long position out of here as well. Kind of the same idea, same principle, right? Bring this one up to a 3. I was able to get it on that side. And again, this risk is a little bit bigger. And that's, again, that's you taking this off a wick over wick, right? And again, gives you basing. It's been tested. It's been tested 2 times. The top one's probably a little bit better. I like the reaction. Again, this was a slow reaction. This is a very fast reaction. So I'm more of a proponent of the top side. For me, the 40.54, 40.53 area is better than this area down here at 39.74. But we'll see which direction the market decides to favor in a little bit here. All right. So that was the last one of the morning. It's 9:05. We went a little bit late today. Let's go ahead and do the drawing. It looks like we have 8 people in. Remember last time it was the new guy. The new guy was The new guy won last time. So we have, and he is here today. Lex. So let's see if Lex can pull out another win today. He gets 100 pip chips on top of what he would have got anyway. So yeah, Lex could be going for in 1 week getting his own little mentor session there after 1 week. So right now it's at 109.47. I'll give you guys to 110, and then I will go ahead and shut it down. Remember, if you guys are new to the channel, I appreciate you guys joining us today. Every morning, or basically every stream. Most of the time, these are in the morning. Tomorrow, it won't be at 8 in the morning. It'll be at noon. It'll be actually a broadcast sponsored by Nadex, so I do that one a little bit later for their customers. But everybody has access to the contest. Just do exclamation point ticket. Everybody gets at least one free ticket. So if you've been on for 30 seconds, you still have the ability to win. Pip chips just get you currency for the channel. You can redeem that for order indicators that I use or mentoring sessions. Mentoring sessions are basically 30 minutes, one-on-one time. We can talk about anything you want. We can look at charts. We can talk about trade setups. We can talk about psychology. We can talk about your strategy, money management, my strategy. Doesn't necessarily matter. We can talk about anything you want. So it's at 1:10:36. I'm going to go ahead and close it down. Let's see who today's winner is. And you guys always get to see it because there's a delay. Winner of today's drawing is, you know what, let me make this a little bigger. I know you guys like to see this, even though you'll see it on the chat first. Winner of today's drawing is Ray. Look at that, Ray. You're in a meeting and you're winning pip chips, buddy. Congratulations, Ray. So I will make sure that, Ray, I give you your pip chips. Easy. I know. Ray's like, I've only half been here because I'm in a meeting and I'm working. I'm dual tasking. And Ray wins it today. So, Ray, I'll make sure I get you your pip chips on that one and see where you're at. With that said, guys, we are done today. Have a good trading. I don't expect huge movements today unless there's some like crazy news releases that are coming out, like press conferences or like tweets, right? Tweets can still move the market. But again, tomorrow, I think we have a bit more news. And actually this week, Wednesday, there's a ton of news on Wednesday. So tomorrow for Nadex, I'm going to break down a bunch of different news releases. So if you can attend tomorrow, it'll be from noon to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't respond as much to chat because actually it's a Nadex broadcast, so I don't necessarily look at chat. But I will go back and review it. So if you guys have any questions, we can take care of that. As well as my channel regulars, Ernest, Sean, Wes, Wealth Builder, really the whole group. Anybody can really answer questions. They all know what I'm talking about. All right. So you guys have a good trading day. Thank you for joining today, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. Take care.